And can you...
thing, I think, but anyway, hopefully we're centered up.
Yeah. If not, won't be the...
Won't be the first time.
Nope.
I watched one the other day that wasn't even close. All right.
Some of them get hundreds of views and some get...
Nuns
0.
of views. Yeah, I know.
it's kind of like, oh, well.
I think I'm good.
All right. Am I good?
Yeah.
You sound all right. And I sound all right, I suppose. And
We sound as good as we're going to sound.
Yeah. All right. Should we hit it?
Let's hit it. You're going to sing today. I have to find my notes. I don't have to find my notes to tell you about my endeavor getting here.
No notes necessary, huh? Hello
No.
and welcome to the Moon Underwater. I'm Kelly Daniels.
And I'm Steve Jones, and I'm very hot right now.
You're very hot. Is that you bragging? Just
I
that
am.
you're losing weight and going to the gym, and so
lot.
now you're just calling yourself hot?
I actually have a stretch mark on my shoulder now from where I'm getting bigger.
Really?
I was like, oh, that's cool. My wife was like, you don't want those.
Stretch
this
mark?
is a good kind.
Stretch mark because you're getting bigger?
Yeah, like I'm lifting weights and my skin is stretching.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, no, you don't want that.
I didn't know that did that. I
Yeah.
thought stretch marks came from when you lose a bunch of weight and it's just you have baggy skin and it's just...
I could show you, but I didn't
I
bring
don't
my
know.
sweet tank top. I might need to. It is 90 degrees out or so.
It is pretty warm, but
Yeah.
we're in the shade.
Yeah, so
And,
I thought,
yeah.
we're going to talk about cars today. It's definitely a Steve episode. And I'm going to bring over my little turboed Miata. And
Of course, I knew you were going to drive the Miata today.
yeah, I texted you, said, oh, I'll be there. I'm leaving the house right now. Now, I know.
It was 5:07 when your text arrived, and I'm
it's
like,
18 minutes normally,
yeah.
door to door. And the reason I have a turboed Miata is not to drive it on the highway, but because back roads are kind of fun.
Yeah.
And well, there's a flagman out on the back roads coming into LeClaire. And I was coming up to the stop, and the guy stopped me. He's like, it's going to be a minute.
What?
Yep. And it was at least 10 minutes. And now one of the joys of having an aftermarket, like excessively modified car.
Right. Doesn't work right.
Yes, right. And especially with a turbo, that underneath the hood turns into an oven if it's not moving.
Yeah.
So I'm watching. Now, I don't use the dummy gauge that's like
Uh-huh.
cold. Now it's warm. Like
Yeah.
I have one that's in the dash in a little round pod.
All right.
And
You're watching it just heat up.
210, 211,
Yeah.
212. I got up to 220 as I'm sitting there. First one in line, the guy just turned the sign.
Yeah.
I sat there for 15 minutes. The last of which I was like, I had to pull up and tell the guy, I'm like, hey, I got to go back around to the back of the line because this thing overheats. And so, I mean, I'm sitting there with the heat on, all the way on my feet, on my face. It's 92 degrees and I'm sitting in the sun. And I'm like, and I got out of the car here and I
You're like,
noticed.
so nice to have a convertible.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
And because you can't run the air conditioning because the air conditioning sits next to the turbo intercooler.
Right.
So that causes it to overheat. So you can't run it. You have to run the heat to cool the whole thing off. So I had to swing around. And then I get here and I get out of the car. I'm like, my feet are kind of slimy. I was like, oh, gross. Because all of the hot air blowing on my feet.
Nasty.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So
you're feeling good.
I am.
You have
But
a
it's
beer,
okay.
though?
I do have a beer.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about car stuff.
Car stuff. Yeah, the subject, I guess the central tenet, the linchpin is the stick shift.
If
But
you
I think
will.
we're going to go all over the place. And we have some text because just talking about how cool stick shifts are, even our kind of like normal meandering, I don't know that we could do that for an hour Maybe you could.
Yeah, I definitely could.
Just talking about why stick
Just
shifts are great,
the
or
ode to the manual transmission. I
Yeah.
could absolutely do it.
well, what would it be though? Just like technical talk, or you talk like
No.
stories about?
how what I learned on. I'll
Yeah.
never forget. And then what
Yeah.
I perfected it on, and these are neither one of which was my car.
Yeah,
Maybe
Well,
that's a story for another day.
another day.
This mayfly wanted to hear it right here.
Yeah, we got shad flies is what I think these are. Mayflies are the ones with the long tails.
Oh,
We have
for me,
two-
these are all mayflies,
Yeah, we have two different kinds of river bug that comes in the summer here, and
but only one kind of river rat.
one. That's right.
Very nice.
So yeah, man, you want to just take it from here? I had you watch a documentary
Yeah.
about Guatemalan buses, which are
Right.
actually American buses that
Yeah.
are modified, and my connection to it was just that I learned a ton about those buses in research for my novel.
I have a
Candle,
million questions about that.
a candle for San Simon,
Man,
which
you
is
weren't-
about a.
You should have waited for me. I was going to plug the book later.
Oh,
I'll do it.
we'll do it later.
We'll cut this part. No,
We'll do it later.
we won't.
But I one of my questions was why are these buses? Why do they all have clutches? Because I think somebody was explaining how they don't just have like 4 gears. They have 4 gears, and then you push a button,
And it's got 4
and you go
more.
back to 1.
Yeah.
And somebody explained to me that the reason why all these school buses, the ones they buy to go down to Central America to become school passenger buses, is because you can keep them running forever because you can replace a clutch.
Yeah.
You can get the clutch. It's not that hard to it doesn't cost that much to replace. But as soon as an automatic transmission goes out,
Forget it.
the bus is done.
Right.
And so anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Anyway,
What
you
did
take
I?
it.
What did I have you read?
You didn't have me
Okay,
read
good.
anything. It was it was an article I
Yeah.
kind of sent that I didn't even read. It was just the headline. Was I
Really?
supposed to read it?
Well, do you know it was really short? That article was very short.
Well, I thought it was just the point of it was just that there was the newest trend is bicycles that have automatic
Oh, that's the
shifting.
second one. I'm talking about the first one. I didn't read
What
that one.
first one?
The one,
I think we might have
in
a
the
little
Times
bit.
about the take rate of the manual transmission and why it's a dying art.
The what?
And the take rate in England of the manual transmission and why it's a dying art. And soon they'll be like their American cousins that can't drive, quote, stick shift. And
Yeah.
they were making fun of us for saying stick shift.
No, I don't remember that article. Did you send it to me?
You sent it to me.
Oh, I must have done that accidentally. 'Cause the only one I remember sending, I don't know. I don't remember.
It was a couple weeks ago. That's okay, because the gist of the article was they were lamenting that only 20% of the new vehicles sold in Great Britain, maybe, or the entire UK, were manual transmissions, and I'm like 20%.
Yeah, that's a
That's
lot.
amazing.
Yeah.
2019, I looked it up. 2019 is the lowest it's ever been. I have one 2019 that I bought new, the Tacoma with a manual. It was 0.7% in the U.S. Last year was about 2.5%. So it's coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe it will come back if it turns out that your car will last longer. I don't know if that's
No
the
way,
reason.
we don't care. People throw them out.
Yeah.
People throw out perfectly good cars.
Yeah, well, that was what and perfectly good buses.
Indeed, they do.
Shows.
So I have so many questions for this, and I want to start out with. So the movie is La Camioneta, and I will hold my review until the end.
Okay.
But I have a question for you, the storyteller here, or story writer, I suppose. Is this the journey of an American school bus with the backdrop of Guatemala, or the other way around?
I think it was more about Guatemala, but
we followed a bus,
yeah.
which I loved because the bus was a character.
Yeah.
And I thought about it like that.
The guy at one point even says something about he's like joking with his wife, and he said, "I'm faithful to the bus." and they're all laughing around the dinner table.
She was not terribly amused, though.
No, she didn't have
She didn't have a smile on her face.
no.
Ever.
She was just like pretty
Stoic.
Well, stoic. She's like a full-on. These are not even. I wouldn't even call them Guatemalans. They're Mayans.
Yeah.
They were like very. Look at their names too. They were not Spanish names at all, and they're
Right.
like kind of Quiche Mayan and those different kinds of
Yeah.
tribes. And so the women are. I've never seen them emote much. Maybe just around gringos. And there's a film crew there.
Right.
I just don't think that woman was gonna start acting normal with a camera. I think the guys are a little more used to it because they're going out and meeting people. But anyway, no, she wasn't. Didn't seem
she
super
didn't seem like
jolly.
she was having a whole lot of it. Yeah.
Nope. Well, and also her husband is like maybe going to get killed every single time he goes out. And it's not like he's a soldier or a cop. He's a bus driver.
Yeah.
And I don't. If listeners are like, "What the fuck are they talking about?" Well, it's a pretty crazy story.
Well, should we start in the beginning in
Yeah,
Pennsylvania?
might as well. Yeah,
I think it's in Pennsylvania.
No, it's in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
It's called.
Over there somewhere.
No, the bus said like Storyvania
Right.
County.
That's
and
what
I
it
had to
is.
Google that, and it was in Virginia.
Okay. So they go to an auction.
Yeah, it's this Guatemalan guy, and what we realized pretty quickly,
It's all Guatemalans and Africans.
this is his job.
Yeah.
That's all he does is he drives a truck up to
Yep.
America,
Yep.
goes to a bus auction, buys a bus, a recently decommissioned school bus,
That's right.
and then drives it back to Guatemala, sells it, turns around and comes back.
And tows the car behind him.
Tows his truck behind
which
him.
is
yeah.
a Toyota Tacoma. I was going to.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
Ah, nice.
So that has 5 zillion miles on it too, because you're rolling the odometer when the wheels are on the ground. And he's doing it, but he didn't care. I mean, that'll run forever.
Yeah.
So undoubtedly, it has a manual transmission.
Of
I'm
course.
just making that up, but
sure
he
it
couldn't
does.
have it any other way.
No. Right early on in the story, they have the auctioneer is talking, and he's just like, the people are amazed. They come to these auctions. Why would you get rid of these perfectly good buses? Like, they've got a lot of life left in them. They're
The
good
fact
buses.
that they're going to drive them 15 days, because they do, from Virginia all the way to Guatemala,
Yeah.
that bus has got some life left. And it's not
and
like
it
they're
goes-
replacing it with a nicer bus with air conditioning. As a kid,
No, you just get a new one.
you just get a new bus with no
Yeah.
air conditioning, the windows that you're not supposed to lower below the black line.
Yeah.
So
The guy buys the bus, and then he's cruising through, and he goes to the border.
yeah, he's like,
And-
everything's great in America, and then you get to Mexico.
I thought that was really interesting, and I just focused on it. It just felt really relevant, and also a kind of almost a point of pride. Like, the guy goes to the border. The border guy is like just talking to him, like, "Oh, okay, what are you doing? Where's your permit? Okay, you got your permit." And you're like, "Oh, yeah." And he's just like, "Oh, man, you're driving all the way back. Wow, that's tough." He goes, "That's life."
Yeah,
And he goes, "Oh, you're fine. If you behave, you're fine in America." And I thought, that's called the rule of law.
yeah,
That is probably an underappreciated aspect of America's competitive edge. People don't want to do business in places where their shit's going to get grabbed by either bandits or the government.
or that. Well, and sometimes bandits are corrupt police. We're going to get to that part.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And he goes, "No, America's cool." Not to introduce current politics into it, but I do wonder, would that guy have that same experience today?
I think it depends on where.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's getting funkier, and that's all I'll say on that.
fair.
But anyway, and then he gets into Mexico, and he goes, every time he goes through Mexico,
he's
it's
always
just,
freaked out.
it's a coin toss to see, and he always has to have money to bribe people,
Right.
and he has to bribe some cop.
Have you ever done any bribing?
Yeah.
Guatemala or Mexico or
Yeah.
both?
In Guatemala, I've bribed people. I was taught how to bribe. It was
Ooh.
like,
How do you do it?
I think this lady that was my boss, I worked for this furniture factory, and she said if a cop pulls you over, I think it's give give them 10 quetzales if you did something wrong and only 5 if you didn't.
How do you give it to them?
They come on, you just kind of flash the money.
Really?
But the thing is that the cops in Guatemala, at least back in those days, they ride on mopeds.
Uh-huh.
They have a little pistol, but they have to buy their own ammo.
Oh, so they're not shooting at you.
No, you could she just said, if they try to flag you down and you just don't feel like dealing with them, just be a dumb gringo, smile and wave and just drive by.
Like it.
And
did that work for you?
Yeah, but if you get stopped by the military, they have a Jeep with a machine gun on it.
They're not afraid to use that?
They're not looking for a bribe. They are looking for something else. And, you obey those guys. And
Did you ever get stopped by them?
I've been through checkpoints.
Okay.
And I've definitely been pulled off of buses to be checked like those guys were.
Ooh, yeah, it was crazy.
And that was kind of scary. You have to have your passport and all that. But I think if you don't want to have drugs on you and stuff like that.
That could be bad.
Americans tend to think they can get away with everything because they're Americans. But if you are caught committing a crime, they'll throw you in jail. Yeah, they'll throw you in jail, and they have the right to. You're in their country.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So
he seemed to really zip through Mexico. So I had questions about how these buses come down, and I was distracted a few times, and I was like, well, I'm going to have to ask. Where does he sleep? He's driving 15 days. He's not going to make it all the way through Mexico in a day. Is he sleeping on the bus?
Yeah, the documentary just didn't deal with that at all.
I wish they would have.
It didn't look like the bus was set up to sleep.
That wouldn't have stopped anybody from sleeping in said bus, though, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'd imagine he would sleep in the bus to save money.
Yeah.
But also he could probably get a room for pretty cheap.
Get a room.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, they just cut right through it. They said Mexico can be really dangerous, but nothing happened. Well, he had to bribe somebody at one point.
He did.
There was that guy that was looking around in the back, and then he comes back, and he's just
I got a question about that.
And he said, "Oh, that guy, motherfucker."
He did.
Yeah.
Pendejo.
Yeah.
So okay, he's going through the guy is looking through all of this stuff in the back of the bus, which is car parts and what I thought was the seats from the bus.
I think it was the seats. Yeah.
But then we get to Guatemala, and the same bus has the seats all perfectly installed. There's some continuity problems here in this documentary, Dr. Daniels. That was one of them.
I think when he gets to Guatemala, the first thing they do is that they do some basic fixing up.
Okay.
So he washes it.
They hand wash it, which I love.
They hand wash it, but they
that shows
also
how much they love it.
Oh yeah. But also remember they put the luggage rack on.
They did. I loved that.
That's when they also put the seats back in. And they also build these like luggage racks inside that the bus doesn't come with. And they showed a shot of him making the luggage rack. This is not like some IKEA luggage rack.
No.
They are just making this motherfucker out of pieces of metal.
Yes.
And they're just welding it. Yeah. And it looked great.
It looked fantastic. I loved it.
Holy shit, man, these guys.
And there's like a love they have for the buses.
It's amazing.
It's so cool.
And it's just, you feel like, if I'm going to be an American school bus, I want to be a Guatemalan bus in my second half of my life because they do love it. And it also is, I mean, they're very kind of sentimental.
They are.
They're very religious. They are. But the bus, you're going from being like a farmer who makes so little money that you don't even have enough money to get through the day, like for food, that guy said. Owning a bus, that's like the key to the middle class.
There was one guy that said, sometimes when we don't have beans, we still eat.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, you don't have beans sometimes. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Like, that's tough.
Yeah, and beans are definitely. And this is a guy that owned a bus, and his place didn't look luxurious. You know, it's a concrete thing with a tin roof.
Yep.
And you know,
remember what he's paying for the bus? He was very excited because the bus that came. So we're following the bus. Somebody has gone and purchased in Virginia, driven it to Guatemala, sold it to somebody, right? Or where he, like, if that's somewhere that he worked. I didn't. That's a detail.
So the guy that
to.
bought the bus sold it to another person.
Okay.
Who was going to be the owner of a bus company, or he was going to be a
driver.
Yeah, I think the drivers own their own bus, but then they drive for a company that has the route.
Got it.
Because every bus that's painted needs to be painted with like the logo
and
of
right
that
colors.
bus. The right colors and like kind of logo of that bus company.
Okay. It's a little gangy, you know.
It is a little gangy, and it becomes a lot gangy.
It does.
And
I want to start with the guy buying the bus.
Yeah.
Because
it got a little confusing. There was more than one. There was a number of people involved, it felt like. There was like a bus. There was like 3 guys.
Yeah.
Was it the owner and then the driver and then the
guy selling?
The ayudante guy.
Yeah.
That's the ticket guy.
Yep.
Anyway, I wasn't stressing my mind too much worrying about who was who. I'm like, a bunch of dudes are in on this business.
I have guy that buys the bus.
Yeah.
Guy that sells the bus. Guy that is buying the bus and getting it painted by the guy who's painting it and his guys.
And then the guy that painted it is his. That guy was maybe my favorite guy.
He was amazing
because he was just an artist.
He was
straight up.
Okay.
Like he was just, and he was just like, yeah, I was in school, and then I started working at this, essentially an auto body shop,
buses.
just sanding buses, and then
Which
I
would
started
be the most horrible job ever.
Sanding buses all day.
All day sanding a bus.
Yeah.
How long do you suppose that would take you? Because I bet they're doing it by hand.
Oh yeah. It would. How much for? Maybe they have a team doing it, but it's probably a bunch of kids.
How much that would hurt after? Oh my God.
Oh, hard work, you know.
It is. Well, so I have in my notes, and we'll get your take on this. It's so much more than a bus.
Yeah.
Right. It's a meal ticket.
Yeah.
It's an extortion machine.
Absolutely. We haven't gotten to that.
We haven't gotten to that.
Yeah.
It's a road trip vehicle, right? It's it's like
they bless it, and you know,
it's a canvas.
Yeah. Oh, it's very much a piece of art.
So that's the part. I guess I really thought about the bus through this whole thing.
Yeah, as the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
well, at the end, not the very end, but there's this like religious festival.
Yeah.
And it's all these buses parked there, and they're all like festooned with like religious icons and flowers. They're the central attraction of this Saint Christopher.
Yeah, the patron saint of travel, I believe.
Yeah, and it was a thing about he's carrying the baby, the child on his shoulder, and he's like, oh, I got to get me across this river.
Yeah.
And he goes, which sounds really like crossing the river.
Yeah,
and
it does.
And he goes, hey, don't worry, I think I even wrote it down. They were going to put a spoiler on it, by the way. I thought that was, oh man,
it
just
needed one.
Making that bus, like
Bitchin'.
watching them. The first thing they do is they take the windows out, and then they put these like wide.
They made the windows look cool.
I'm like, why are they doing this? I'm like, is this practical? No. Does it look cool? Fuck yeah.
Yes, it does. The guy's paying $10,000 for this bus.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to pay $666 a month.
Yeah.
Which, good thing they didn't know how much that was in dollars, or they'd have said no.
Yeah, that's satanic.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff they do to that bus and how great it looks.
It's cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And the guy is doing it just full on, eyeballing it and hand drawing it using tape.
Yep. And then newspaper to mask off.
Yeah.
And the masking was perfect.
And he's looking at the masking, and then he's like, no, that's not good enough. The guy absolutely gave a shit. Like, you're like,
he
oh,
totally
man,
did.
This guy, you hire this guy, he is not going to give you his B game. He is like, and he's just like, hey, you get work by, your advertisement is your work.
Yeah.
Like that people look at the bus and go, who did that?
Yep.
and that's you. And if you fuck it up, they're also
gonna
going to
know
say, "Who did that?
who did
That
that."
guy."
Yeah.
And it was really, it's a
He
little
was
bit
my
of
favorite.
it's a bit of a capitalism story too.
It is.
Just the entrepreneurial, like, spirit, but also just and how they're fixing these things up with nothing, and they are just making them look so cool, and they're just
Yeah.
they're
It was
just
good.
doing it, you
Yeah.
know, and it really, it was pretty inspirational.
So yeah, my thing was what they were paying because I was like, damn, that's a $660 a month for like how much are you charging and how many people do you have to have on and then how much do you have to have left over in order to
That's a lot. I mean, when you lease a
Shit.
Lexus, you're gonna
like that much money.
Yeah.
And but you can't load up a Lexus with, 50 people and charging each one of them.
Well,
but you could try.
and it's not. They don't have to pay it forever. They'll pay it
Right.
off.
They pay it off.
And,
so I feel like this was part of Kendall for San Simon.
Yeah.
And like Carruthers is paying off the bus.
Yeah.
We're venturing into new territory here, but
Well,
we haven't talked about it
I
yet.
guess I'll just my novel. The
I'm readying the ding.
I guess the first moment people when they ask about what's the inspiration for this novel, Terry Gross will always say that, like as if that's interesting. But this really it started with me being in Guatemala. I'm taking these chicken buses all over the place. Which sounds kind of demeaning, calling it a chicken bus when we look how lovingly these things. Not all of them are that nice. Let me just put it that way.
I would imagine.
I'll also say something about as far as a national transportation system. You could parachute down into Guatemala anywhere with $5 in your pocket, and you could get anywhere without having to wait more than 10 minutes at any stop.
That's awesome.
They go everywhere,
That's
and
cool.
they're cheap as shit. And even if you don't even know where you're going, you just ask those Ayudante guys, like, "Hey, I'm trying to get to so-and-so." And they'll walk you onto the right bus.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people are, a lot of the passengers are illiterate. And so they're just used to, it's kind of a foolproof system. It's cheap.
Yeah.
And it gets you everywhere. It's not.
Wait, what? So
It's not super comfortable all the time.
system for them being illiterate. What's the helpful part?
Of the Ayudantes, the little assistant kids, kind of run around
Who is a character in the
yelling
book as well?
Oh yeah. So anyway, I'm taking buses all over Guatemala, and then one day this bus pulls up, and it just looks different. It's more like a city bus than a school bus, and it's not painted as much. It's like half-assed.
Uh-oh.
And I walk in, and it's a full-on white guy.
Grizzled old American guy.
It looks like this white-haired alcoholic guy with a red face.
Looks like Norman Carruthers.
Norman Carruthers, and he's driving it, and I'm like, maybe he's just one of those white-skinned Guatemalans. You have them.
Mm.
And then I heard him speaking Spanish to his Ayudante. It was definitely gringo accent.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, no, this is a white guy. He's American for sure.
That's crazy.
And it just made me think, like, how can an American, born and raised American citizen type end up in Guatemala
It's good.
driving a bus, like owning his own bus? And that was just where the novel started. And
I like it.
So,
all right.
so I did all this research to try to answer that question. And so, yeah, this documentary.
Did the research start by asking him how the fuck did you get here?
I don't know that I wasn't. Yeah.
I remember he was paying someone off, but it may have been for other
Yeah.
offenses, right?
Yeah, he owed money for other reasons, and I just made up a bunch of leverage that
I like it.
I just got him into trouble and made him.
Oh, he got
have to
himself into plenty of trouble.
Yeah, and he had to kind of deal with it.
I see.
But I talk to him. I think I wanted to talk to him, and I even made eye contact, but he was like,
Not having
definitely
any of
didn't
it.
want some gringo backpacker kid, chatting him up.
Did he
Well,
have a Stanley mug? Because that
In
that
my
is-
imagination, it was a really long time ago when I.
it was filled with Diet Coke and rum or Coke.
The
mostly
Stanley.
rum.
I'm really a trendsetter when it comes to this, and underappreciated, if I do say so myself.
It's true.
He's got Norman Carruthers always has his trusty Stanley, and he calls it his Stanley. And that book was published many years before the trend of the Stanley that apparently, like high school girls,
Yeah.
you have
I
to have
asked
a
you about
Stanley.
it. You're like, wait,
Yeah.
what? Really?
Yeah, I
That's
didn't
a
hear it.
thing? Like, oh yeah,
I never heard about it till you.
yeah.
Yeah.
My
So
kids
there it
both
is.
have 'em.
I feel like I should get some copyright money for
You should.
coining the Stanley, even though that is a company that is copyrighted,
Well,
probably.
they
And
probably owe you.
yeah, I think so.
And they can come on this show
Yeah,
and
yeah.
defend themselves.
Exactly.
You cowards.
Cowards.
Yeah, okay. So they start talking about the drivers start talking about Quetzal City and indicating that it's dangerous. Is that a
So
place
I
that
don't
you've been?
know what Quetzal City is.
Okay.
There's a place called Quetzaltenango, and Tenango is kind of means city.
Okay. Maybe that's it.
I don't know. That is what's weird. When I Googled, or I just put Quetzal City in Google Maps, and it showed a neighborhood in like a suburb of Guatemala City.
Okay.
So I wonder, is it just a route from the center of Guatemala to a suburb, or a more logical route seems to me to be from Guatemala City to Quetzaltenango.
Okay.
But then, because Quetzaltenango is a big town,
Okay.
Guatemala, it's probably the second largest city in Guatemala, I think.
Okay.
That'd just be my guess. And it's, but it's also a multi-hour drive.
Right.
It just feels like that would be a route that you would do,
Okay.
like, once a day, go there and back. But maybe it's not. I know that, gosh darn it, I wanted to do a little bit of Googling or chat GPTing or whatever.
Nice.
To
Way
find
way
out
be with the times.
to find out if this extortion and gang stuff is still as bad as it was. This documentary was old. I read this. I watched this documentary as part of my research for writing Saint
Okay.
Simon. So I hope that the timing of it's right. If not,
It's
I watched
like
it
10
after.
years ago. No, something like that.
Yeah,
Like 2012,
yeah,
2014, somewhere in there.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
And Saint Simon's after that. So
Yep.
definitely all this stuff was going on. Which
What about when you were there?
when I was there? I've been there a few times, but this was
Okay.
the 90s.
I'm thinking like the big trip. I don't know. I
The
know
big
you have-
trip was in the 90s, at 96 probably. No, the gangs weren't that big a deal. It was the government.
Yeah.
It was a right-wing kind of, whatever fascist sort of government that
Yeah.
was going into villages and killing everybody because they're worried that there's some commies. It was that kind of thing.
Shit.
And the U.S. CIA, of course, was
Yeah.
all deep into
Oh,
it.
yes.
And all that stuff was going on, and there was a lot of disappearances and death camps and death squads and secret police. It's a bad shit going on. Like, that was the main stuff. But also, when I went there were some peasant, maybe that's not the right word to use. Tourists were starting to get attacked. There was only a few of them, but, the news travels fast.
Yeah.
And because a conspiracy theory that gringos were coming down and stealing babies for the organ donation trade. And
Ooh.
so innocent, just gringo tourists would take a picture of the Guatemalan kids are just adorable.
Super cute.
Yeah,
They're
they have
super
these
cute in
chubby,
this. Yeah.
chubby cheeks, and a lot of times they're wearing these indigenous little outfits, and they just look like you just want to take a picture of them and pinch their cheeks.
We'll come back to the child drinking coffee shortly.
They drink coffee. Yeah.
That's so fucked up. This kid was like 4. Mom's like, "Would you like some coffee?"
Oh yeah, no, well, it's where the coffee comes from, you know.
It's great coffee.
It is great coffee. I remember somebody in Italy was putting down American coffee, and I'm like, y'all's coffee is garbage.
It
Sorry.
is garbage.
All you do
European coffee sucks. They
is
burn it.
You burn it and you grind it.
You fuck up the beans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
No,
sure, it tastes good with a nice croissant if you put enough milk in it and sugar,
Right.
but
Right.
don't lecture me about coffee, bro.
About hot brown water. No, you can fuck right off.
Yeah.
Our coffee rules. Yeah.
You just go to, I remember drinking coffee in Honduras. They had a little stand that was like the farm was just nearby, and it was just this little, they just had the beans right there, and they were just
It's like
pouring hot water over it, and it was crazy good.
Yeah.
Crazy good, and it didn't taste bitter like coffee. It tasted almost like blueberry fruity, and it was like light, but you really, it also was pretty caffeinated too. I was like,
all right, now we're going to move on to coffee really quick for just a minute.
Sure, let's do it.
Because one of the things that I will, like, I'll get up sometimes at, like this morning, 4:45, no particular reason.
Yeah, wake up, and you're just awake.
And then I'm like, I can sometimes go back to sleep.
Yeah.
But if I think about that first cup of coffee, I'm up.
You're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
Oh, just thinking about it.
Thinking about it like,
triggers
it's
that.
going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really fucking tired, but that coffee is going to be even better. And so I want that experience, so I go.
But that burr grinder, man, that's going to wake up everybody in the goddamn
and
house.
I don't care.
Yeah, you don't.
And it's got to be a burr grinder.
Yeah.
What is it? It's like it's the shape of the grinder.
Yeah.
It's the
so you don't get dust.
Right.
Like, I guess other kind of grinders.
Right. Anything that makes an espresso in Europe is just dust. That's how fine they want the grind.
Yeah, it's bad.
Europe, am I right? We're both about to go, and we won't be let in. Oh, this is coming out afterwards.
Yeah, that's right. We'll be fine.
Coffee, one of my favorite coffees I've ever had, and it may be a little corporate, but it was in Mexico, and it was at a Mexican coffee joint, a chain there called Cielo, that was absolutely spectacular. And yes, of course, it's made with coffee that is local as it could be in northern Mexico anyway.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that. They don't fuck up coffee there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that cliche, if you haven't ridden powder, you haven't ridden. If you haven't drinking coffee like that, you haven't really drinking coffee. You're drinking some kind of bitter black water that
Yep. Hawaiian coffee's good.
Yeah.
But then there's, if I want to get Hawaiian coffee and what that costs, there's a lot of better.
Kona coffee. Yeah.
Oh, there's another.
What about the cat shit coffee?
Well,
you know that, right?
Yeah, I do. I had an opportunity to have some.
Yeah.
In Morocco, there is Bacha coffee, which is super famous all over the world. 30 euros basically for a big ass coffee. What is? Oh, I'm just hearing a noise. I'm not sure what it is.
It is a fishing boat.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just like a little flat bottom bass boat thing.
In Marrakesh last summer, I went to Bacha Coffee and had a 30 euro thing of coffee by myself. And, I went with my buddy.
You get like a little pitcher of
It's like
coffee?
a pitcher of coffee and then the pour. And
30 euros. Jesus Christ.
You wait an hour and a half for a table.
Yeah.
It's 30 euros that's the best coffee I've ever had.
Yeah.
Easily.
Wow. This is the cat shit coffee?
No, I didn't have the cat shit coffee. But, okay, would you try the cat shit coffee? I don't know how we got to coffee. But.
I assume it's not just like fresh cat shit. It's sort of...
Well, it's critter shit. It's not even a cat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like some kind of monkey. Does that make it worse?
A monkey eats the beans and then shits it out, and then they're better.
And then they make coffee out of that.
Yeah. Hey, man, whatever floats your boat. If somebody offered it to me, I would eat it. I would drink it.
Would you? No, don't eat it. That's worse.
No.
Is it like I give it a sip? But with a sip, you got to have a full cup because the coffee experience is like the smell, it's everything. Do you want to smell that one?
I feel like the whole process of making the coffee and all that stuff, it doesn't taste like ass anymore, I would hope.
Maybe that's like the whole point of it.
Is that it does taste like ass?
Yeah.
You know, the millennials are famous for their ass.
They
eating,
are.
And maybe it's a millennial thing.
Definitely.
More power to you.
Millennials.
Eat those asses. This Gen X is just, we're not advanced enough for that kind of thing.
We're definitely not that advanced.
A friend of mine whose name I shall not mention was kind of talking to me about, how do you even like bring that up with your wife that you want to try that out? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like that. It's just like, this conversation can serve no purpose.
No. Like, I'm not helping you mention it to her.
No. Just like.
Because that's how that comes up. Yeah, no.
It's like
fantastic.
when somebody starts talking about swinging and then you're like, wait. Where's this going here?
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever been, I'm not propositioning here, but have you ever been, anybody gave you a hint?
No, but I knew people that knew, like, it was somebody that I worked with.
Somebody kind of gently mentioned it to me that you would be interested in some of that kind of thing.
Wow.
And
wait, how long ago?
2 weeks ago? 5-6 years ago,
Jesus.
probably. And it was, I just pretended like I didn't hear it.
Yeah,
that's
the move.
Yeah,
I love that. Nicely played.
Yeah.
You're like, I hope the Angels are going to be good this year. Like, how do you change the
I'm
subject?
assuming my wife isn't going to listen to this podcast because I didn't even say it to her because...
Oh, no.
If
she wants to know who it is.
Because she would... and then... Yeah, she already was sort of sketchy about these people.
I cannot wait to mention this to her.
Thanks. She already was kind of like, so on these people, and I was more their defender. They're cool. And that would have been more proof than... Not that I think there's anything wrong. If that's what you're into, do it. And he didn't, like...
He didn't try to suck your dick right there?
No, it was a swap thing that he wanted to do. He didn't want to engage in that kind of... Yeah, it was that. I mean, it was all pretty coded and vague, but I think that's pretty much what...
Would you like to reenact the conversation right here? Because
not really.
I'm dying to hear this.
Not really. And it was actually... There was a certain amount of grooming involved because the wife had like said a few things to me earlier.
Oh, no.
And then he
kind of... So the wife was in on it, too.
So he was the closing... He was the closer, and yeah. So...
Oh, no.
Yeah, well,
I love it. I want to reenact this. Maybe after we turn the camera and the recording off, because I'm dying to hear how this went.
Yeah, right.
I'm almost jealous, but I'm glad it wasn't me.
Oh, I know. It's a little flattering, I guess. They thought that...
Except that also terrifying, because what are you going to say? Like, I don't think that's... And so I think you did the best thing you could do, which is nothing.
I feel like when somebody's given that pitch...
You ever get eyes for another man's lady? like how does that
when
go?
they give that pitch, they probably assume that it's unless they're getting really strong vibes, I feel that they're kind of assuming that most people aren't swingers. That's
right.
It's a small, and so I think he kind of was like, it was more of a Hail Mary than a hard sell, if that makes sense.
Wow.
And so I think it was
picking up what he was laying down.
Oh yeah, he said it pretty much.
Oh,
like this is what we're into.
Oh, interesting.
And we should hang out like that. It was that kind of thing,
There is,
and I just like didn't respond with that. I just went back to the.
I know of a few where there's a couple where the. I don't know if maybe they should be into it because she had apparently cheated on the husband with the son's soccer coach.
Okay.
And they were both like okay telling people about it. Like, oh yeah, well she cheated with the soccer coach.
Yeah.
And I heard that not directly from them. And I was like, how do you normalize that? And then somebody else who lives very near them, similar kind of thing. I was like, this is all very
Hey,
strange.
man, it takes all kinds, I'll tell you. And my entree or just call it just human curiosity, but also writerly curiosity. I listened to a very well-known podcast, like a sex and relationship advice podcast that deals with normie, like just straight married people, but every other combination and kink possible. And it's super funny. It's Dan Savage, the Savage Lovecast. It's really well known. He's been doing it forever. But it's funny because it's like people write in with, "Oh, my husband's getting jealous," and really normal stuff.
Yeah.
And then other one is like, my my
oh God, say it.
My boyfriend has been using these extra large dildos in his ass, and it's making me feel insecure because like that kind of stuff. And I'm at the gym just like doing the exercise thing, and the earbuds are in.
Oh yeah.
And some nice old lady will come up and talk to me, and I'm hearing this thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, yeah. So because of that podcast, I actually know for somebody who doesn't partake, I know kind of a lot about that whole world. It's very confusing and very complex, but yeah. This is not. Is this a stick shift conversation?
Oh, I think it is.
Unless we've all seen the stick shift used as a phallus, right? That's the
Why do you think
standard.
I love it so much?
Of course.
Yeah.
By the way, not that I'm uncomfortable talking about this stuff, but they did show the clutch of the bus and the stick shift.
Very short throw on the clutch, I noticed.
Oh, what does that mean exactly?
It means it's a very short press.
All right.
From where it sits to the floor.
Okay. That seems like it'd be easier or is it easier to stall it too, maybe, right? Or is it?
I like a little shorter clutch pedal, I guess, like travel.
Yeah.
Volkswagens are notoriously long travel clutches, and nothing really happens until you're down at about the last, third of it or lower.
Yeah, you're just getting a workout.
Yeah. And my truck is, let's call it agrarian. It's sort of like driving a tractor. The clutch is long throw. It's heavy. I didn't realize it was heavy until very recently. And the throws from first to second are like, they're just super long. Like and second to third, but it's smooth. It's, I like all of them. I like all the manuals. I don't care. The Miata's notchy and real short.
Yeah.
The Civic that we got is super smooth, really, really easy to drive.
Yeah.
Super light clutch, and the Miata's clutch is very, very, very heavy. That's the other thing. It's a puck clutch.
Yeah.
So it's got like buttons on it, basically, like where it makes contact. So it's on or off.
Right.
Like there's no slipping it forward in traffic. It doesn't do that. Like the whole thing shudders and it's rev it a little bit and take your foot off the clutch and then you're gonna go and then you got to clutch it back in. There's nothing smooth about the way that car drives.
Yeah. So I learned how to drive with a clutch, and
when you learned when you were like 15, 16?
Yeah. And
what did you learn on?
I learned on my mom's, like, whatever the really little Toyota truck was in the 80s.
You know what it was? The Toyota pickup.
That's just all it was called.
That's all it was, I believe.
It was a sweet little...
They're great.
Little pickup truck, and this one was like deluxe. This is the 80s for you. It had a camper shell, but like a nice camper shell, and the bed was carpeted, so that me and my brother would be put back there.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, no seat belts or seats.
No.
But I learned on that, and then my first car was something called the Ford Courier.
Oh, sure.
You know what Ford Courier is?
Yeah.
Very few people know. It was
I'm thinking of the European one, I think.
It was like a 1974. It seemed identical to like a Datsun truck. It was like
it's a mini truck.
Tiny truck, yeah. And I drove that, and I got so good at driving that truck in particular, but using a clutch and a stick shift, that when the clutch died and I didn't have the money to replace it,
didn't replace it.
I just kept driving
Yeah.
it. I could shift
Bump it into gear.
I could bump it into all the gears by the pitch of the engine, and then you had to stall it at first. What?
You didn't have a tack.
No. I just could hear it. And it was a rhythm thing. And
You just stall it.
I just stall it.
And then bump
Put it in first and then start it.
Yeah.
The starter. And of course I also hung out with this guy named Lee. Good old Lee. I don't remember his last name.
Leavis.
He was a absolute delinquent. And he was 21 and I was like 17 when I met him, and he was just hanging around the convenience store buying beer for underage kids so that he could get free beer and then also try to fuck the teenage girls.
And
then I became his
Dazed and Confused.
Absolutely, and I became his partner for like a summer.
Disciple is what I was going to go with.
Disciple. We did crimes. We would shoplift is all we did, but also hung around with some sketchy motherfuckers. And we were just running around looking for parties.
Much has changed.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. And he had a Ford Pinto.
Oh.
And
he died a fiery death.
Probably, I would not be surprised if he was dead, but I hope he's still alive. He had a good soul, put it that way.
Yeah.
Let's just say he had a good heart.
He might still have a good soul, but not a good body.
Yeah, he. But the Ford, it got the front, the driver's side door got smashed shut.
Yeah.
So he would have to jump in through the window.
Oh.
And Starsky and Hutch style, if you know Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
And then the starter burned out.
Oh.
And didn't have money for it.
Because you were starting it from...
No, this is a different...
Oh.
That was my Ford Courier.
Oh, that was the Pinto.
The Pinto, just the starter died, and he didn't have the money to... And so we always parked on a slant. And, I would... If we weren't, I would push it and then jump in. And, he could bump that thing. And I could, too, because I drove sometimes. He could bump that thing, like, barely rolling, and
that's a skill I've acquired.
Bump starting,
yeah.
You don't need it unless you don't have a starter. I mean, it seems, but
you need it if the battery's dead, and the Miata battery is tiny.
Oh yeah,
and several occasions
we could bump start it on second. If you get enough of a hill, you can bump start it in second.
Yes,
which is a smoother.
It is
kind of
second's
start.
way better.
Yeah.
First is like, ow.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first time I did it, I just got my hair cut, and as I go to leave, car's not starting. And that thing runs a little funky anyway right now, and more than. And so I got it going, and I go around the corner and kind of down the street, and there's all of a sudden, and this is back when it was running funkier, like I said, like it wouldn't stay running. So until it was warm, it would the idle would dip, and I was at a stop, and it just died. And I was like, holy shit, what am I going to do? Guy in a Jeep, I kind of like wave, guy in a Jeep and his kid, and he's like, hey, I go, you got jumper cables? Or he goes, no, it's a stick. We'll just bump it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
It's not that hard.
Do that.
Yeah.
And a long time ago, I was working. I'd sold cars a long time ago for about a year, and we had taken in a Beetle that was a manual, and we had one of the keys, and it wouldn't start, and we kept trying to bump start it, but I didn't know if it was me doing it wrong. You got to have the ignition on and just ready to go and sidestep the clutch once it's moving, and it wouldn't go. And it turns out it was. I remember finding out. There was a problem with the immobilizer in the key, and so it wasn't going to start.
Right.
And so I was like, I hope I can do this. And I was like, what do you need me to do? The guy goes, we'll just push it and put it in second, and then I'll let you know, and then you just sidestep the clutch, just dump it, and it'll start. And he was right, sure did. And since then, the batteries don't last long in that car.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then if you put a trickle charger on them, on any car, get a good one. Like if you're going to be gone for a month and you're going to put a charger on it. If you don't put what is it, C-Tech, which is like $120, battery charger / whatever, they overcharge. It starts to smell like sewage, basically, in your garage, and you'll think you have some other problem, and in reality is your battery's fucked because you've charged it for too long.
Yeah.
So you got to get a good charger that knows when the battery is full. And
practical advice on the moon underwater.
Ooh. Good car advice always.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned on probably a 1996 or 1997 Ford Ranger Splash. Now, the Splash meant that it was we called it the Baywatch edition. It was with
I can picture it.
Yeah, it was yellow. It was yellow.
It
was the short cab. It was 2-wheel drive, and it was a girl that I was friends with. I'm gonna go with Rachel Claxton, I think.
Good old Rach.
And it was in November or December, 96, 97. And we went out. So my high school, we had an area that we called the range, as in the driving range. And no, we didn't have a driving range as in golf.
It was a makeout place, right?
No, it was for like
drag
driving
racing.
the car around when you're in driver's ed.
Okay.
They would do that 2 months a year.
Got it.
That was junior parking. Junior parking lot was that parking.
Okay, got it.
And so we went there on like a Saturday and just went around, and I kind of knew how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't YouTubes at that time.
Nope.
No, it's hard to believe.
I know.
But I knew that
You had to just not know how to do shit.
Yeah.
That's all
And
there
it
was
sucked.
to it. Yeah,
It really
you
did
just
suck.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 wires here. I'll just put this one into this hole.
That was it. Yeah. That was how we lived. And we also lived with shitty directions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, turn left at the dead cat.
Right. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I will never forget the trip I made from Valencia to Madrid, driving in a rental car, definitely a manual, but at that point I was driving manuals for 7 years, where there was no GPS. All we had was a printout from MapQuest. God bless you, MapQuest.
Good old MapQuest.
And you know how Europe is. So for those of you that don't know, there's no street signs in Europe that are out on the street where you can see where you actually are. And in addition to that, there's so many famous people from various places in Europe, Italy included, Spain certainly, that every several blocks, the names of the streets change, even though it's the same street.
Yeah, they have to give props
Right.
to all their,
It made a slight turn. That's a new street, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
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 And so...
Oh, it's confusing for sure. Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, at this fountain in this plaza, you need to take the 3rd exit. And we made it to a friend's house, place anyway, in the middle of Madrid without missing a single turn. And we parked in a parking garage, and because we had to get up really early to fly back the next day. This was in 2007. And I got up and got out to the car, and we were driving out, and I paid the guy. And as I pulled out, I looked at how much change he gave me, and it was half the amount that it should have been. And I went back.
Nice.
And I was like, no. I'm like, no, you didn't give me enough change. The guy's like, no, I did. I definitely did. And Anna's like, no, come on. We have to go. We have to get to the airport. I'm like, no, fuck this. This guy needs to, give me the change. Are you sure you gave him a 50? I'm sure I gave him a 50. And he's like, no. And I got the rest of that change before I
nice.
left.
How'd you do it? Did you rough him up?
No, I'm like, no, I should have. What happened here in our movie, to bring it back.
Yeah.
No, I was like, no, I'm not leaving until, I was like, And I told him in Spanish, I was like, I'm not leaving until you pay it, until you give me the money.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, okay, but I definitely gave it to you before. And I was like, no, you didn't. And
then why would you?
Why would you give it to me? And so, I mean, the proof is there's crime everywhere.
There is. Hey, we got a couple more things we want to get do, but let's do our little break. And wrong one.
Wait, maybe we should wait. There's a train coming.
Hey, folks, let's take a break. So while you're topping off your pint, we've got a quick bit of housekeeping.
Your pints.
If you're enjoying The Moon Underwater, do us a solid. Leave us a good rating and review wherever you listen, Apple or Spotify. It really helps more people stumble into our cozy pub of books, films, and conversation. And don't keep it to yourself. Tell a friend or share the show on your socials. Speaking of, you can find us on Instagram and Threads at The Moon Underwater Pod, YouTube at The Moon Underwater Pubcast, Twitter and Blue Sky at The Moon Underwater, and Letterboxd at TMUW Pod. We're posting updates, extra thoughts, and the occasional pub-related nonsense. So join us there. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or if you just want to say hi, write us at theguys@themoonunderwaterpubcast.com.
There we go.
You're rightish.
All right, back to your regularly scheduled pints and paperbacks.
Paperback. Yeah, we should have probably.
Nope. We're gonna go through it like we do.
Hey, here comes the train, folks, and
You should watch the video because this is fucking cool.
yeah.
I'm not even a train nerd.
Here we go, train. Whoa, train.
That's pretty cool. Oh! Well, I felt that in my chest.
So,
The Celebration Bell is back there?
no.
Fucking hell. It already went
Celebration
by.
Bell, that's the Twilight, man.
Oh, that's the lame one.
Celebration Bell
Oh, I had to explain
sucks
what
my
lame.
nards, man. It just,
We had to explain
like,
to somebody what
after
lame
like
meant.
after a 100-mile ride,
Ooh.
not like fresh.
Oh,
That's what I say about the.
not freshly powdered nards.
Yeah, no.
Wow. Okay, so I
there's-
learned on
there's-
that. I
okay.
learned that day on Rachel's yellow Ford Ranger Splash.
Yeah.
And I got decent enough to drive around the driving range. And then the town I grew up in wasn't that big.
Yeah.
Like the city area was 35,000 people. And then with the surrounding area was maybe 50 total. And I lived in the surrounding area. So like out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And so for me, I was like, well, I can go back home or I can do whatever. And she's like, oh, we'll just drive. You want to just, I picked you up, but you can drive back home. And I'm like, I can? Like, I got to drive through downtown. The high school was all the way on the other side of the river. Like,
Right.
if I
So you were scared?
I was terrified.
Yeah.
It was a 35-minute drive from my house to the high school.
Right.
I mean, they've since added another high school, and now they're debating which one they're going to close because people have moved out.
Right.
But I ended up driving myself. As I recall, I drove myself back home. And it was like the greatest moment of my life. I didn't stall the thing in traffic. I did all the, and I'm sure I did. I just, thank you. I'm sure I did. But I wasn't, like, at that time,
killed
I'm
it,
like,
man.
I fucking nailed this. I can do this
That was the
every day.
beginning of you having confidence in becoming
I always
not
wanted
a
to-
loser.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm still working on that part.
No, you
Becoming
were just
not
like,
a loser
hey, man.
is, yeah. It was amazing. And then I had a friend, Keely, whose parents were very successful with IBM. And I don't know if you know this, but you know what IBM stands for? It's not International Business Machines. I've been moved. And they got a deal to relocate to New Zealand.
Wait. It really stands for I've been moved?
That's what, I mean, because if you work for them, you get moved.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So they They were relocating and had to go find a home. It's the same train. They were relocating and had to find a home, and while they were out of town, they had told her, okay, they had a Jeep Grand Cherokee and they had a Wrangler with a stick, and she couldn't drive the Wrangler. And so they're like, don't drive the Wrangler. And she's like, okay. The second they left, to be like, come on over, let's take the top off the Wrangler and go drive it around. It'd be so cool. I'm like, because I definitely know how to do it.
Yeah,
and I vaguely knew how to do it.
Yeah.
And her parents were, they later knew that we had done that, and they were super cool about it. Fern, Greg, much cooler than I would be right now if my kids did that to me.
Good old parents.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah.
That's who I visited when I went to New Zealand and Australia, was them.
Those Kiwis, they're nicer than.
Oh, but they're not Kiwis.
Oh, they're Americans in New Zealand.
Right.
Okay.
And so Keely, God bless her, learned how to drive a manual
Kiwi is her name?
Keely.
Keely.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
She learned how to drive a manual transmission on a right-hand drive vehicle.
Speaking of which,
Oh?
last time I drove, I talked about the first time I drove it, where I learned, right?
Mhm.
The last time I drove a manual transmission
Ireland.
was in Ireland.
Nice. Ireland. Oh, yeah.
And I went there with, it was right after COVID. It was the first, everybody could travel again after. Actually, I was in O'Hare, and it was just 2 days before the federal, mask mandate had just dropped. So it's
that's
the
awesome.
first time I'm going around without a mask.
Barefaced.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but it was also eerie. It was
weird.
Weird.
It felt weird.
And there's a percentage of people that are still wearing the masks, of course. And
depending on where you are, that's still true.
oh yeah, definitely. I ended up meeting my buddy in Ireland and Ireland.
Yeah.
But also the economy got weird, so rental cars went from practically free to crazy expensive.
Oh, were they cheap there normally?
I think I think you could get them for 30 euros a day kind of thing. And then it went up to 120 a day plus
I feel like it's always been that high, but maybe
Really?
that's me.
Okay.
But then I say that, but then I just rented from Avis for a month for $700 or $800, something like that.
So my buddy, he would go there all the time. He goes, oh, we always just rent a car right from Dublin and we just drive everywhere. And he goes, this is how much it is. And we're like, wow, it's kind of expensive. He's like, well, let's wait. Maybe it'll get better. And it got way worse.
Yeah.
And so we're like, we can't, we had a grant money to go on this. It was a research trip. So we're like, we can't do this. So we'll take trains part of the way, but we do need a car for one part of the trip. And then he's like, oh, I always get an automatic. I never learned how to drive a stick. And I'm like, there's no automatics left at all.
You're not, yeah.
And so it's just
go Europe.
I have to be the guy to drive, and I've never been in Ireland before, and I've never driven anywhere where you drive on the right-hand side.
Oh, really? Well, you haven't driven there.
I haven't driven there.
Yeah.
And so I'm there, and also Ireland's, their roads, they're just these little goat
amazing.
carts that go through the middle of nowhere, and yet these tour buses come barreling through, and they don't slow down.
Nope.
And so I was driving with the, wait a minute, I'm thinking about it. Was the shifter on the opposite side?
Shifter's in the left. First is upper left.
Yeah.
And it's this, and I know people have
It was
told me
fucked
before.
up.
They're
Put it that way.
They're like, no, the first gear is towards you and up, and I'm like, not in England, not anywhere that's right-hand drive.
Yeah.
It's the exact same transmission they're selling everywhere else in the world, and so first is up and over, and so you go through the gears, kind of going the other way.
Yeah. It was pretty harrowing, I have to say. Way harder than any other, just learning how to drive a stick, I think. Mainly because of the tiny roads and just the strangeness of it all.
Yeah.
And then hitting traffic circles that go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It was just like a mathematical problem, a geometry
They
problem.
go clockwise, yeah.
All the time. And anyway, it was...
I've done some driving on a right-hand drive, left side of the road. First time I did it was New Zealand in 1999, and I thought it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I couldn't believe that I could do it.
Yeah.
And then a couple years ago for work, we flew into London and we went north, kind of near Cambridge. Hounslow is where we were staying at the Marriott. And I had planned on going in. American has a flight out of O'Hare that leaves at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it gets into Heathrow at 10 o'clock at night. And then I was going to sleep at the airport, grab a rental car, get my coworker who's coming in that morning, and then I would drive the 2 hours north. Well, the fun thing about Heathrow is that if any flight is late, then is specifically late at night, anything after, I believe it's 11 o'clock, is a huge fine for landing. Now, the airline can decide to pay it or not. It's for noise abatement.
Right.
And so we were, of course, going to be late. And they then...
So they don't want to land.
They don't want to pay the flight.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to pay the fee.
Yeah.
So they don't leave.
Yeah.
So then you take a 10-hour delay. You are now up all night on the airplane, even though you should be asleep. Get in, and I'm talking to the guy. I was like, "What are we gonna do?" He's like, "I don't know. Can you drive?" I was like, "I just need you to be able to keep me awake." And we ended up with a Peugeot 308, which was way better than the second car we got because we were only supposed to be there a week and decided to extend another week.
Yeah.
And the rental car company, I tried calling, and they're like, "Oh, no, you booked through a travel agent, work travel agent. You got to call them." I call them. They call Avis. They can't do anything. And they go, what you need to do is just bring it back to the location that you rented it in. Like, that's Heathrow. Like, I'm 2 hours from there, and we're going to downtown London for the weekend. Well, that's what you got to do. So we had to drive it all the way back.
Ouch.
And get a different car.
Which was a shittier car.
It was an MG.
Oh.
But it's not, MGs are not MGs anymore. They're Chinese cars.
Oh, okay.
And it's basically, it was like a Tiguan ripoff.
Yeah. Okay.
It was, I was making, and none of them were manual. But I got fairly adept at driving driving right-hand drive. And I've done it a few times since and thoroughly enjoy the challenge, but I never got to drive a manual. I sort of want to do that next time I go to England.
You can do it.
I would love to do that.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's... it was hard. It was very stressful. By the end of it, I could do it.
Really?
I mean, yeah. So, yeah.
Do you get any great joy out of driving a manual transmission?
Oh, yeah. It's fun.
Does
So
your
the
wife
reason
give you
why-
any shit about how you drive a manual transmission?
What's that?
Does your wife give you any shit about how you drive a manual
No.
transmission?
No.
She was telling me.
Oh, really?
She's like, he gives it too much gas.
Oh,
It's
God.
pulling away. Because if you...
I
if
do.
if
It's
you
just because I didn't know the fucking car,
She's
man.
like, if you just come off the clutch really slow, it moves. I'm like, I know. I do know this, but I also know
it was
that
a brand new... It was a
it's a
car.
different
I've
car.
never driven the goddamn car before.
amazing.
Okay. So now, yeah, you're
She's
right.
like, how in Italy it's la macchina. And I was like, no, yeah, I know. It's very important. And how smooth you are with the transition is super
All I
important.
got to say is
it's
she
very
shouldn't
Italian.
be saying
Really?
anything about driving.
Does she drive like she's from Rome?
I don't know.
Italians are amazing.
I don't want to get into that.
I'll point her out. I'll point her to this episode in particular the next time I see her.
She's not a timid driver, I'll say that, but
My wife is, unfortunately.
oh man, that's the bane of my existence around here are the timid drivers, and also the not knowing that you don't in a 2-lane road, 4-lane highway,
Yeah.
2 lanes on each way.
Yeah. Stay in the right lane.
Pulling right up to the person in the right lane and staying and just matching them for 5 miles in a row while
That's
20
lame.
cars are stuck behind you.
Not good.
No clue.
Not a good look.
So many people just don't even understand. It's like, where the fuck did you learn how to drive?
I will go, if somebody's in the left lane, I will be that far
Oh,
off
no,
their bumper.
I totally vibe them.
Yeah.
And I tailgate them really aggressively, and I'll even flash my lights when I get pissed off.
That's very European. Wait, in Spain, maybe in Italy, they sort of pull over onto the line, and they put on their left turn signal to be like, get the fuck out of my way.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's one of those, like, do you not see me here? Like, what?
I drove, bringing it back to our documentary, I drove professionally in Guatemala.
You did?
Well, only professionally in that I worked for a company like this furniture factory, and the owner had me be her driver of this pickup truck.
No way.
So I was driving around, and the thing about Guatemala is the horn is some kind of magical. You just are constantly honking your horn.
That's like in India.
All the time.
The horn is
for
a
every
replacement
reason.
item on a car.
Yeah. And it's just weird. I don't know what the function is, but after driving in that country for a while, I was doing it too.
Beep, beep,
like,
beep,
yeah,
beep,
all
beep.
the time. Like,
Okay, in India, you know what it is?
Watch the fuck out.
There's different honks.
Oh, wow.
Beep, 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 beep means I'm here.
Yeah.
Beep means get the fuck out of my way.
Get the fuck out my way.
Yeah. I
like that.
I did kind of like that. And yes, it got annoying at 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe, but I sleep with earplugs in, so I didn't hear it. And I was on the street.
So it's communication.
It's still charming. It is communication. Yeah. Ill
communication. So do you want to jump to the end of the movie? And you haven't given our critique yet, but or your rating. So the shifter said Spicer on it. Does that mean anything?
No, I think it was just the brand.
Yeah. And okay.
We didn't talk about the violence with the buses.
Yeah, we haven't really gotten into it, except that the gangsters were killing the bus drivers.
Yeah, and burning the buses.
They're blowing them up. They're putting grenades on them that were like remote controlled, like terrorism.
Yeah.
To kill. And I said, I hope it's better now. I suspect it is. And then there's that whole scene where the cops are training to and there's all these they look like they're 16-year-old kids who look scared.
They're like almost organized.
Yeah, they're doing a march.
They are, but the march sucks.
No, they're not good at it.
They're good at the turn.
Yeah.
They're like, turn to the left, and they all turn. It's like, now march to the vehicles. And then they take 3 steps. It's like, oh, this guy's not walking fast enough, and that guy. Fuck.
Yeah.
And then they just sort of
It was sort of
scatter.
pathetic. But also, it was that Guatemala is another place that just doesn't have the rule of law.
Well,
the last police chief was wanted.
He's wanted. The ex-chief of police.
Yeah, but that order, they're desperate to try to show that we are orderly, that we have order, and that's where I think armies get that kind of marching stuff. Part of it is that, soldiers need to learn how to, follow orders.
Yeah.
But I think it's trying to give confidence to the other people that we're not just a bunch of marauding gangsters. We're like, we are this organization.
Unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they try to do that kind of thing. And that's why they wear uniforms and not just like civvy clothes.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah. And these bus drivers are like, well, I got to keep driving because I need to make money.
They're wondering about when they're going to go back to work. There's a lot of, kind of question because it's been dangerous going to Quetzal City, the danger with the gangs, but also it kind of pays to go there. So they're like, maybe, I can't believe I've been doing
driving to the place that's the most dangerous is going to probably make the most money, I guess, right? That seems like that's a supply and demand kind of thing.
Sure does.
Well, last time I was in Guatemala, I went there for a research trip before.
When did you go?
Gosh, it was right before San Simon was published. And it was my last trip there before I did some final revisions.
I can give a review of that, by the way. It's worth a read. So for those of you that have not read A Candle for San Simon, I would recommend doing it. It's fun.
Thank you, sir. But I just had a little bit of research money to go and just kind of
research money to go places. I like this.
Yeah,
I need to figure out how to get some of that.
I like it too. But
I like it too.
well, I mean, academia you just, for the amount of education you have and training you
God.
have, you don't get paid.
Not nearly enough.
But there are some perks.
Yeah.
And you get some research money, and you set your own schedule to. So they're
You get the summer off.
Summer off. But I don't remember when I went there, but it was, I couldn't name a year.
10
but
years?
Yeah,
11, 12?
Something like 10 years probably,
Yeah.
something like that. But I went, I flew into Guatemala City, and then I kind of played it by ear.
Yeah.
And I just hopped a bus to Antigua.
Okay.
Antigua is a cool city, man. And
Yeah.
I met this guy who was like a lounge piano singer and piano guy. Like at this bar, I was just having a beer, like out, and he just goes, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" He was getting his free beer after his show. "What are you doing?" I'm here. I'm doing some research for my book. This book I'm writing, this novel. He goes, "Hey, I'm going out drinking after. You wanna?" So I went with him, and I went like in this like epic
Really?
booze fest.
That's so
Bar after
amazing.
bar after bar, and ended up in somebody's apartment.
Yes.
And,
As one does in Guatemala.
And then I woke up the next day in that guy's apartment, not in his bed.
Yeah. So many questions.
But it was pitch black because he was like he works all night and drinks all night and then sleeps all day. So it was like the curtains were so dark. It was
That's
just
like
pitch
my
black.
bedroom.
It was
Yes,
pitch black.
I hate any light.
And anyway, I hopped on from there I went to a place called Lake Panajachel, or Lake Atitlan, city called Panajachel.
Yeah.
Took a boat across this lake to a small town.
That's definitely in the book.
And I hung out, and I hung out in this little town, which was really groovy. I had this amazing little, kind of like a motel room
Yeah.
overlooking the lake. It
Yep.
was so beautiful for like $11 a night.
Yeah.
And then there's this little bar, and I met this guy who was a translator. He was translating a Guatemalan novel, and he was on sabbatical
Nice.
from. He's a university guy from what is it in New Orleans? It's one of the Tulane. And he was a guy that was like a real gringo-looking guy, but also grew up in Guatemala and America. So he had but the World Cup was going on.
Oh,
and that was the year that Honduras did really well.
Yeah.
And so we were watching.
2014.
Yeah, that would have been it. And so we were watching World Cup
Yeah.
matches at the bar, and then doing this really low stakes gambling about like what the
That's
score would be.
great.
And I met like this whole crew of like these expatriate types.
Oh, wow.
And I was there for like 3 or 4 days. It was great. And then I took a chicken bus to Quetzaltenango, which is the Indian name. The Quiche name is Shela. And it was just a great trip, man. I mean,
That's
Guatemala is a cool place. Anyway, so there's that. So back to the documentary.
Yeah, should we?
So yeah, I think we covered that it was sketchy, and then it ends.
We don't know what happens to anybody, and that was sort of
Yeah.
disappointing to me.
So the bus looks great, and
Bus
then the
is
guy
fucking amazing.
and the bumper. If you look at the front bumper,
Yeah.
this like detail of
Yeah.
like these lines and stuff on it was just
They
like
nailed it.
Oh
it was,
my
it was cool.
God.
And as a car guy, I'm like, these are car guys. This is what they have.
And they
I
were
get it.
pulling off the masking tape and the newspaper.
It looked perfect.
And it just looked absolutely beautiful.
It looked great.
And then the bus just kind of drives off, and then it cuts to the interior of a school bus,
Yes.
an American school bus,
With
and it
kids in
pans back, and there's like kids in it,
Yeah.
and it's the most cliched street of suburbia
It is.
you could imagine.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of ends there.
I thought that was a great ending.
I thought it was really poetic.
But it's because
And
it's the story of the bus to me.
it is the story of the bus, and also the bus is there, but also just the
It was
the
circular, right?
it was circular, but it was the kids are just kind of sitting there, They have no appreciation for this bus.
And how cool it really is,
Yeah.
even though it's super nerdy
Yeah.
to ride that bus.
Yeah.
Eventually, that bus is going to look so fucking cool.
Yeah. But also, you look at this place, this suburbia, and it's like this is what affluence is, but it's just soul crushingly not like compared to what we saw in Guatemala, as fucked up as it is.
They were super excited about that bus.
But also, there's like it's colorful, and Guatemala is beautiful. It's a mountain country.
Yeah.
You could see those mountains all through. Just this, this kind of like really poor shanty town kind of thing. But there's these giant mountains that, anyway, I thought it was a really cool ending.
Yes.
But you wanted to know if those guys like.
For me,
but it had to end.
The ending was I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Today the scale's out of 5.
All right.
I'll give it a 4 out of 5 because
that's pretty good.
I wanted to see follow up with some of the characters, right?
If they're making good money and the bus is
bus is
working
running,
out,
they got to go back to work, they're safe, their family's okay.
Yeah.
I'm
I
an
think
American. I want a happy ending.
I
right?
think they ran out of budget, though, if you know what I mean.
For sure.
Because they would have had to go back, or they just probably didn't want to.
How much longer do you have to wait? Like, 5 years? Like, then it...
Yeah, they wanted to release it.
Yeah.
And it won awards, and it
was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay. 4.5 out of 5. I'll give him a 90%. All right, I've upped my
I'll give
score.
it the same one, just because I don't want to give a 5 out of 5. I really did think it was a pretty great story.
So I bought it on Prime.
Yeah.
So it was $12, and I'll make Anna watch it.
Nice.
How
come you bought it? Just because you're like, maybe I'll watch it.
It's $4, and maybe I'll watch it again. I'll definitely watch it again. The artist, just to watch him do his thing again.
Yeah, that guy, man. I want to know where that guy is now. He's probably still doing it.
Probably still doing it.
He's probably older.
Come on this podcast and defend yourself.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, what was
coward.
his name?
No, I wouldn't call him a coward.
No,
but I don't know what his name was, and so I should go back and find out.
Yeah.
And give him a shout out.
Some of those names are, those Mayan names are really kind of cool sounding and trippy. And they have usually a Spanish first name, Geronimo.
Right.
And then like this trippy name with X's in it and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose if we found his name, he's probably like on LinkedIn. It's like, fuck, this ruins the, come on.
I would not hate it if the guy was wealthy and had like a whole kind of business going on,
man. I wouldn't either.
He had real talent.
I really enjoyed it. And it was about manual transmissions. This is not the last time we'll visit that. And
not at all.
Maybe we're going to do a episode about a good road trip. I got a book, I think.
You want to do that next? We'll just do a two cars in a row.
We got to read the book, though.
Oh, it's a whole book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boy,
well, you gave me the Road and Track.
Oh, it was great.
Magazine. I haven't read it yet.
It's so good. It's
okay.
good. Yeah, maybe next time we should talk about that one.
Is the road book that it's nonfiction, right?
Yeah. No.
It's a novel.
No, it is nonfiction.
Okay.
I've had 3 beers and I can't determine which
nonfiction
one
is. Yeah, it's kind of like me with turning the dials.
Yes, left or right.
Yeah,
I'm not sure which way.
Which is the which.
What's the thing that's true and what's the thing that's made up? That's what I have to think of in my head.
Yeah,
3
man.
beers.
Well, whoa, that was a little loud.
Did you turn it the wrong way?
No, I had it louder for Garza's talk because I wanted those people to listen. God damn it!
You fucking listen to Garza, you people.
Yeah, you motherfuckers.
Come on this podcast.
Yeah. If you don't like it,
yourself,
if you don't
you
like
cowards.
it, yeah. And by the way, here's my new sign off. Something like, "Thanks for listening. Join us next time, and put down your devices and get out of the house and do something cool with a friend."
Yeah, or yourself.
Later. Not yourself. I think that seems,